features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The winter winds have blown and brought about a change of luck as spots move down the road. This is Safari Live. Ready? Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You're live, you are live.
Good morning everybody and welcome to an epic start to our sunrise safari on this Monday morning. As you can see, we've got Tingana walking down the road, and what a way to begin our week. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Ferg, and a very, very, very big thank you to all of you that let us know that there was a leopard sawing on Djuma Dam Camp. So remember, you can now ask any questions, or if you want to just say hello on hashtag Safari Live. But what a way to start. Look, he's even turned and looked at us. Good morning, boy. Now that is a sight for sore eyes. After 2 days or 3 days now of tracking leopards everywhere, we've been struggling, and now to just come across this big boy walking down the road is such a special way to start the day. I'm so excited. As you may be able to tell, this is going to be so cool. And the nice thing is that at least we've got him early, and it seems like he's behaving himself, because sometimes with Tingana you'll find him and the first thing he'll do is dart into a thicket, and then you've got sort of tough time to try and keep up with him. But it seems this morning he's decided to behave himself and to just stay on the road nicely for us, and hopefully we'll be able to follow him as he goes. It's going to get a little bit hairy in places because we are going to go through a few drainage sections, and we do have our roof on because it's a rainy morning, and so hopefully he's going to be kind to us and just stay on the road as he continues his territorial patrol southwards. But he seems like he's digested a lot, because yesterday the guys told me that he was very full-bellied, and this morning it looks as though he's got a bit of a flap on that tummy, so he's obviously digested that warthog meal he had 2 days ago and has allowed himself to be able to now start doing his territorial patrols. That's why we heard that sawing earlier, as him telling everybody, this is my area, I'm back, don't think that you can come in here and take over, and so that's why he's making such a lot of noise. But how cool is this? There's something cool about finding leopards first thing in the morning and then just following them. Ferg, are you excited?
I am ecstatic.
Ferg is very happy because he says that we've been looking and searching, and before we were kind of driving along, and I was like, let's just quickly try see if we can get to Chelapan in case this leopard's gone down Vulture's Nest. And as I had said it, Ferg's like, leopard! So we were quite excited about the fact that we found him, walking down the road. But isn't he magnificent? He's looking so good. I know he's not everybody's favorite because of some of his sketchy behavior in the past, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about, he's ate a female leopard last year after she mated with another male, and he then, took it upon himself to kill her for some reason. So he lost a bit of favor with some people, but he is a magnificent creature. Look at those spots, and you can see lots of scent marking going on. Mr. Tingana, you're being an absolute treat this morning because you're walking on the road, which is highly unusual for this cat. Often, like I say, when you find him, he decides off into the thicket, and you've got to try and keep up with him. And don't you love the way leopards walk? They've got almost these bandy back legs that kind of move out, and then those front paws that flick as they move. I love watching leopards walk down the road. It's so cool. What an epic way to start the day. Sure. Now, of course, he is mobile straight south, so I don't think we're going to have him all morning. If he keeps up the pace that he's walking now and he stays on Twin Dams Road, I would imagine that within the next 45 minutes he'd probably be crossing our southern boundary. But what I'm hoping is that he's maybe going to take either Ingwe Alley or Pangolin Track and start heading towards Treehouse Dam, and maybe then go and settle there for the day. That's what I'm hoping. But let's see, because it looks like he might be angling off towards the west. Come on. Yep, well, so we're going to go down our Ingwe alley, and it looks like we're going to head towards Philemon's Dip. So we're going to try and stay with him. And while we do that, let's go across to my friend Byron so he can say good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Craig. And Tristan beat me to it. He found the leopard before we could. Well, that is great news. I'm so happy that he's found Tingana. And I do think that was the leopard that we heard calling this morning, because it wasn't too far from camp, and it looks like he's just headed south on Twin Dams Road, not far from the Djuma waterhole, so very possible that it was that leopard that was calling, and I'm sure it was him. Well, that is very exciting, very, very exciting, and we've got, we've got some big tracks in the road over here, up ahead. Can you see this? You can actually see the marks in the road very clearly. It looks like little scuff marks at the moment, but what that is, it's actually hippo tracks. And I can see, I don't think you'd be able to see, actually, you can just see some of the toes, but it's hippo tracks. It's not very clear, and I can't really show you the track. It's a large track, 4 very clear toes, 1, 2, 3, 4 that go off to the sides. But it's hippo that's been moving around, grazing during the night. Now, I'm not going to be talking about these hippo tracks all the time. Let's head across to Tristan with that beautiful leopard.
Well, indeed, he is being lovely. Like I say, he's just strolling ever so gently down the road, and every now and then he looks over his shoulder at us, but otherwise he is completely unperturbed by our presence, and he's doing a lot of scent marking. We've seen him rubbing his face on varying trees, lifting his tail and spraying, so he's been doing a lot of that, and it's probably because he actually hasn't spent that much time in this area over the last week. We've not seen too many signs of Tingana. The last time he was seen was with Taylor, when he kind of came through Treehouse Dam and then out through the northern side of into Buffels Hook. And so this area that we're in now, I haven't seen tracks for Tingana here for probably, I would say, at least 10 to 15 days. And we've just had that bit of sprinkling of rain yesterday and last night. In fact, last night there was quite a bit of drizzle that fell. Not enough to really make any puddles, but enough to see that the ground is actually quite wet and damp this morning. And that means that a lot of his territorial markings, unfortunately, have been washed away. And so for him, he's now got to get out quickly and go and remark all of his areas, to make sure that no other younger males that could be potentially flirting around the boundaries of his territory now come in and don't notice that he's here. So that's why he's going to move a lot today. He's going to try and see if he can't just mark as many places as possible to make sure he doesn't have any intruders in his territory. So, Anthony, you're wondering how often a male leopard would kill a female leopard. Well, Anthony, not very often at all. In fact, this is quite an interesting situation, and no one's 100% sure why he would have done it. You do see it sometimes if it's a female leopard that's younger than 2 years and she's not able to mate, then sometimes the males will do this. They'll go and kill her because they still want to bring the female that is the mother back into estrus and mate with her. So it does happen there. But an adult female that's able to breed is very, very, very unusual that a leopard would do that. And what I think, and this is just my own theory, it's not what, I mean, it could be completely wrong, but what I think is what she was doing is she had mated with the Mvula in the previous few days. And what I think has happened is Tingana approached her and he picked up the scent of that other male, and he then got so sort of worked up by the fact that there was another male in that area and that had been around this female that his aggression just came through, and he ran at her, and she probably tried to defend herself, and that ended up with a situation where unfortunately he killed her, and then because she was then dead, he just utilized the nutrient factor and actually ate her. So it's that reason that probably it happened, or in my opinion that's what's happened, but it could be a completely different reason altogether. Now, Tingana, why are you going this way? This is not a good way that he's going now, because he's going to go through a very thick drainage section, and I'm going to try and see if I can't get round. It's going to be very difficult. I just want to get hold of the guys on the radio that are joining me so that they can get round quickly. Tax. He's cutting south now into this drainage. I think your best bet is just go onto Weaver's Nest, south of the hyena den. Maybe we'll get him popping out there. I'm losing visual of him going into the drainage section now. Alright, so we're going to try and see if we can't get round, because there's no ways we can cross that drainage section. It's very, very steep on both sides, so we're going to have to go around and try and see if I can't get him from the other side. The problem is where he's walking now is so difficult to negotiate on the other side. The elephants have had an absolute field day there, and they've broken I don't even know how many knob thorns and pushed them over, and it's a minefield to get through there. I remember the one evening I tried to follow Hosanna through there and literally got completely stuck trying to get in and around. So I'm going to just try and see if I can't get around and get to him. Obviously this roof is also going to make things a little bit more difficult when it comes to trying to actually keep up with him. I was hoping he was going to cut more in this direction, because here it's a quite short distance to where the road is, but the way he's gone now, it's a long way. But I'll try and see if I can get around. You never know, maybe he'll be good to us and we'll be able to find him. He seems like he's in a showing off mood this morning, because he didn't dart away as soon as we found him, and he wasn't too worried or perturbed by us. But so we hopefully should be able to get him again. But we know how Tingana can be. He can be a slippery character at best when he wants to. Now, while I try and get around and try and bash through these thickets to get to where this leopard is, let's go back to Byron and see what his plans are, and whether or not he's decided to follow those hippo tracks and find out where they've ended up.
So Tristan, we're not following the hippo tracks. I'm looking for lion tracks. That's what I'm going to be doing this morning. As I said, we heard lions calling during the night. They definitely passed through Djuma. I haven't seen any tracks just yet, but I'm almost certain they passed through Djuma. It did sound like they were quite close last night. So hopefully there's still some males around, and we'll try and find them. I'm so glad Tristan managed to find Tingana moving around. It's always wonderful. It would be wonderful to always wonderful to see a male leopard moving around and following him. Or was it Kat that asked or said, wouldn't it be wonderful if I found the Anderson? Well, gee, it would be great if we found the Anderson male. It's another big dominant male leopard. I haven't seen him on Djuma. I've only seen him on the northern parts of Londolozi, but he's got a huge territory. I'm trying to think if his territory extends up here, or if it's mainly on Arathusa. I'm not sure. I wonder if he's been seen on Djuma before, or if he's only been seen on Arathusa. It would be nice to see that big male leopard. I do think he must be probably one of the biggest leopards I've seen. There was another leopard years ago that we used to see on between Malamala and Londolozi. What was his name again? The name will come to me. I'll think of the name. But he was massive. Really, really big leopard. What was his name? Bobby, you asked, is it leopards or lions that smell like popcorn? It's the leopard scent, Bobby, that smells a bit like popcorn. They give off quite a pungent smell when they scent marking, and that does smell a bit like popcorn. It really does. I'm not just making that up. It really does smell a bit like buttered popcorn. What was that leopard's name now? So all these leopard names get a bit confusing at times. But there was a huge leopard that we used to see, and then he disappeared. Don't know what happened to him. I wonder where these lions are, or where they've been moving. I hope we get some tracks of them somewhere and we can find them. I really do want to find some lions today. and also with it being nice and cool this morning, I would think that now they're probably lying down resting somewhere, just because it sounded like they'd been moving around a lot during the course of the evening, covering their territory, calling, scent marking, much like Tingana's doing at the moment. But I think they'd probably be lying down resting and then most likely move around a little bit later. It's going to be cool for most of the morning, so then I'm sure they wouldn't stay in one area for long. They'd probably get up and move again. So the sooner we find some tracks, the better. At the moment, the only tracks I've seen are hippo tracks and hyena tracks moving around during the course of the night. Dear watcher, you'd love to see a hippo out of the water. Yes, indeed. I mean, it's wonderful to see a hippo out the water, and they look. I mean, it's amazing to see. They've got very small little legs. They don't look like those legs can carry them very well, but wow, they can move fast. They can move so fast out of water. I've seen a hippo running back to a dam once, and it's actually scary how quickly they move. We Siberia Zumi. Sorry, you mentioned a leopard. That the name. Sorry, Alice, it broke up there a little bit. What was the name that you mentioned? Jordan? No. We Siberia Zumi. No, it wasn't Jordan. We didn't see that leopard on Londolozi. I don't know that leopard. No, it was a strange name. It was a Shangaan name. I'll think of it. I'm sure it'll come to me just now. No, again, they're just hyena tracks along the road here. No sign of lion tracks yet, but Tristan's still got Tingana. Let's go see if he's still managing to follow him.
Well, we don't have him at the moment. We're just trying to come around to where we last saw him and see if he's not going to come across sort of the face of us and carry on towards Pangolin Track and Weaver's Nest area. That's where he's kind of heading, but at the moment it's difficult. You can see we can't really negotiate this area, and on the other side it is just far too dense. And what you have here is you have two drainage lines that come down in a V like this, and so he went into the first one, which is behind this one, and I was hoping now that he's going to pop out somewhere here. And so we're just sitting very patiently and listening out and trying to hear if we can't hear Franklin's alarm calling or some sort of animal alarm call as he moves around, or even him vocalizing himself. We know that he was calling earlier, so hopefully he's going to make some sort of noise, or something's going to make a noise that we can then work out exactly where he is. But this is what I was saying earlier, that he's a tough character to follow, because he'll go into places like this that make it very difficult to keep up with him. And so we're just going to have to be patient. He will come out at some point. It's cool weather. It's perfect weather for an animal to move around. And secondly, we know that he's scent marking vigorously, so I'm pretty sure he's going to come out and he'll walk somewhere here. It's just a matter of our timing being right. So Cindy, yes, he did have a recent meal. He had a warthog that he finished yesterday morning. It wasn't a very big warthog, but he did have one, and he ate it over the course of a day. So he had it not yesterday, the day before is when he killed it, and then he ate it all through that day and finished it yesterday morning. So he has had a kill recently. It's just that he digests very, very fast, and so even though his tummy doesn't look fat, he definitely has eaten in the last day, and it just goes to show you how quickly they actually process the meat that they eat. Right, Tingana, you haven't come out this way. I want to just check further towards the mud wallows on Pangolin Track, so I'm going to just quickly do a little turn here and see if I can't head back in that direction. But we do have Tax and Aubrey helping us. Can I go back there, Ferg? Now, this is going to be about a 400-point turn as I try and get through this, because there's about 40 million stumps in this area. And so while I try and negotiate this, let's go back to Byron and see if he's managed to find any lion tracks yet.
Oh, well, hopefully Tristan gets a glimpse of Tingana again. I'm still searching for tracks of lions. I've just seen hyena tracks so far, that's it. Some elephant tracks back there too. See if I can find a clear hyena track. I'll show it to you, and I'll show you why it's easy to tell the difference between a hyena and a cat track. I'd much rather just find the lions first, but I've had no tracks anyway. Now Chuck, you wanted to know how long I think it would be before Amber Eyes brings the cub back and joins it up with the pride. Well, so Chuck, I'm not sure how old that little cub is. I haven't seen it yet, and I think it must be around, if you've seen it already, it must be probably 2 or 3 months old, I would say. I don't know, we'll ask Tristan, and then that lion would probably bring that cub out to join the pride. Well, from 3 to 4 months, they do introduce him to the pride, but then she will still hide the cub somewhere when they go off and hunt, and if they're trying to look for food, and she'll return back to the cub and let it suckle. And then as it gets a little bit older, 5-6 months, that cub will start following the pride. Definitely stick with it. Hang back when they do hunt, but it will be following the pride at that age. There's quite a clear hyena track, I think. Let me show you quickly. There we go. Can you see this one here, Craig? Let me jump off. Hold on a second. Let me show you this track. Almost feel like a golfer sometimes when I walk out, look at the track, see the line, and am I going to putt? Now here's the hyena track right here. Can you see that? Is that alright, Craig? So you can see this is very soft substrate, soft sand that it stood in. So it's a bit of a messy track at the moment, but you can see there's the excuse me, what looks like a front. What would that be? Probably front right paw. Over there. Sorry, this is front left, that's front right. There we go. So judging by the slope of the back pad, there's a bit of a slope in the track, and I can see if it's front right or front left. And because the track is quite large, I also know it's a front track. The front tracks are a bit bigger than the back tracks, and they're the 1, 2, 3, 4 toes over here with the back pad, and I can actually see little claw marks in the sand. Now with lion and leopard, you're not going to see claw marks at all. And the other thing is, at the back of the track, there will be 3 clear lobes. 1, 2, 3. Whereas the hyena only has 2. And also these toes, the hyena toes are kidney shaped, so they're not quite round like a lion or leopard. They are more kidney shaped, so that's also a dead giveaway, and it's a hyena track. Well, there are tracks out, just not the tracks that we're looking for. Well, not yet, anyway. Now, Michael, no, we don't follow hyena tracks like we would follow lion and leopard. And the thing is, look, all the animals are fairly difficult to track because they can change direction, but hyena especially, because hyena will walk one way and then pick up on the scent of something and then just turn and head off into the bush, and then they'll come back and they'll cross the road and head that way, and they'll come back and they'll walk down the road again. So it's they're very confusing animals to follow because they're scavengers. They're constantly smelling and moving around, trying to find a potential carcass, a bit of food. But they I think it would be very difficult to track a hyena. You most likely could, but we don't. We very seldom track hyenas, unless we see tracks heading to a den site. We'll have a look and see if we can follow. But no, when we're driving around, when we see hyena tracks, we know they're going to be all over the show. I haven't heard any updates from anyone else. And Ali, you said was it Jumbo or Ravenscourt leopard? No, it wasn't them either. It wasn't them. This leopard was seen around between, I'd say, 2010 and 2012. No, 2011, maybe into 2012. That was when we saw him. I know you're all itching now to find out what that big male leopard was. I'll get the name, don't worry, it will come to me. No. Cindy, you said Saluva or Shaluva? No. No, it wasn't any of those leopards. None. I don't think that leopard was seen up in this area at all, so it was predominantly down there. What was his name? It's frustrating sometimes when you can't think of all the names. I want to check the boundary a little bit here, the southern boundary, or our southern boundary. See if there are any lion tracks crossing the road here. Let me just double check, just make sure. I saw some tracks crossing the road there for a second, but it looks like hyena. It's hyena indeed. Now Tristan's still just trying to see if he can get a view of Tingana. Apparently they're searching. He's been moving through the block, and he has got the help of one of the other guides at the moment. So they're trying to see if they can get a glimpse of I tell you what, let's quickly go to Tristan and see how the search is going.
Well, it's not going very well, and there's lots of leaves everywhere and branches that have been flicking up all over this place, and the roof has been a bit of a hazard to us, but at least we're kind of in an area where we're hearing Franklin's alarm calling, so I think he's moving and is slowly coming this way, but we really can't get much further than where we are now. You can see I've got quite a big tree here, and then it's nice and thick on our left hand side, and so what I think is happening is he's moving just on the left side of us here. There's a little dip down here, and I think that he might be sort of walking parallel with us inside there. So I'm just trying to listen to the Franklins as they're alarm calling, and we've heard them kind of making noises as he's been moving along. So now it's just a sort of patience game, as one of us is going to have to just find him. Luckily there are three of us, so we've got Tax to our west, Aubrey's to our southeast, and so hopefully between the three of us he'll pop out somewhere where one of us sees him, and we can then be able to find him. But with Tingana, sometimes you never know. He can be like a little sort of knitting needle and just get between the threads and off he goes. And the distance that he covers, as quick as he does, makes him sometimes quite a difficult character to keep up with. But I can hear something in here. I don't know if maybe there's something else. So, Donald, you're wondering how much territory a leopard can mark in a day. Is there a limit to the scent gland? Well, there will be a limit, but I can tell you that I've seen leopards go for sort of 2-hour patrols and just mark almost every sort of third, fourth bush as they've gone along. So they definitely are able to just keep it going for quite an extended period of time. But you'll find after a heavy scent mark like that, they will then start to drink water. Now I can hear right here, you can hear, listen, there goes the Franklins. And I can hear something. I don't know if there's maybe a carcass in here because I heard a crunching sound. And I don't know if maybe, just maybe, he's got something small in here because Tax also just told me that he saw a hyena running in this direction. So I'm going to try and just see if I can't see where these Franklins are alarm calling and whether or not now Tax is just asking me a question. Tax, I'm not sure, but I can hear crunching. I can see you there, maybe a little bit more to the west. So it was Tax that was moving there. So we're going to try and just go a little bit further to the west, because that was Tax that was making the noise. I thought it was a hyena crunching on a bone, but it was Tax and them walking on a stick, and I didn't see them until because of how thick it is. So I'm going to try and just see if I can't check a little bit further to the west of where we are, because he says he's checked the eastern side, there's no tracks there. Oh, Tingana, you're being a difficult character today. So David, you say last minute Tingana must have known this is far too early to be making an appearance. He can't have a situation where he's on the show the whole time, so he has to just give us a glimpse, disappear, and then maybe show up again in the last minute of the safari. So that's pretty much how it is, and I like the way you think, David, but it would be nice if he wasn't that way. It would be nice if we had got him for the whole drive. Let's see, I'm sure he's here somewhere. It's just a matter of us hitting the jackpots and finding the right path that he took. But as you can see, it's not exactly very open here, so spotting a leopard in all of this is quite difficult. So I'm just checking on the ground here, trying to see if there's not any tracks. There's a hyena. So let's see, maybe the hyena is going to be able to take, oh sorry Ferg, I know I've got the bar in the way there. But there's our hyena moving in the background, and they're moving towards this area. So maybe, just maybe, if we sit with this hyena, it will be able to take us to where Tingana is. They're like little sniffer dogs. They're able to work out very quickly where the leopard is. They smell and they're able to sort of sniff out that there is a leopard somewhere here. Now, of course, you would stop right where the bar is, wouldn't you? Naughty hyena. Now, I'm not sure which one it is. One of the young hyenas that we've got here. Apparently there's another one somewhere. Aubrey just said to me he saw 2 of them. So there could be another hyena coming our way. Now hopefully he's going to just come behind us and show itself. Tiger's Kicks, you say you haven't seen a hyena in a long time. I know, we've been starved of our hyenas, unfortunately. Since the den has moved, we've been battling to find them. And so it's always nice to see these characters. And the presence of them is a good thing, because maybe we hear a scuffle and we can then find out where exactly they are. Now, let's see. Let's see. Now, how am I going to keep up with this hyena? That's the next story, is to try and just follow along. Tax, just confirm you found the tracks for him. Okay, copy. I'm gonna go quickly then to Treehouse Dam, just check if he hasn't come that way. leopard moves too much. So Tux is telling me that they found the tracks, but they are quite far east of where we are. So he's bypassed us without any of us seeing him, and he's now moving towards sort of Weaver's Nest side. So I'm going to quickly shoot to Treehouse Dam, because knowing Tingana, he could be already that side, and see if he hasn't popped out there and crossed over already behind us and is moving towards Treehouse Dam. But first, I've got to try and negotiate my way through this. Now, nope, that's not going to work. And I'm going to try and see if I can't get underneath here and make a plan. But while I do that, let's go across to Byron, who seems like his search is not going as well as he first intended.
No, it's not, Tristan. I really thought we'd find some lion tracks, but no luck yet. I mean, searching very carefully, driving slowly along the road, but no luck, no luck. Have I ever remembered the name of that leopard? Thank goodness, otherwise it would have driven me crazy. It was, his name was Msagwen. Now, he was also he was a big leopard, a really big leopard. I'll never forget one of the guides I used to work with. It's quite a character, and he drove into a sighting once. We had found Msagwen. He was lying down in near a thicket, but out in the open we could still see him. And this guide arrived, and as he pulled into the sighting, he turned to his guests and he said, "There he is. There's the tank." I've never heard a leopard be referred to as a tank before, but that was quite funny. Oh, hang on, look at this beautiful grey hornbill. Wonder if can you get him through there, Craig, or it's just up on the top of this tree over here. Is the roof in the way? Oh no, sorry. Ellen, apparently Wild Earth's first vehicle was called the tank. Sorry, this roof is in the way now, so you can't see those grey hornbill. But listen, you can hear him. Did you hear that? That's the grey hornbill just flying off. Unfortunately, they were sitting right at the top of the tree, and we couldn't see it. So Wild Earth's first vehicle was called the tank. Well, I don't think these vehicles are tank-like anymore. Don't worry, Wendy, we still love you. Yeah, so Msagwen, but now there's always chat amongst guides, and there's always maybe a bit of a competition to see which area's got the biggest leopard ever seen in the Sabi sands, and there's always a debate, and like I say, a bit of competition. Now I've heard guides say, oh, hang on, listen, I'll get back to those stories, but Tristan's caught up with Tingana. Let's head to him before he disappears again.
We have indeed. There he is, just poking his head out behind that little bush, and he's coming straight towards this termite mound. No, don't go that way. I was hoping he was going to come because there's a hole in this termite mound, and we know Tingana likes to hunt warthogs as well as aardvarks, and he often comes to termite mounds and then sniffs around where there's a hole just to see if there's any sign, but he's clearly decided that this is not the termite mound for him, and off he goes behind it. Now, the thing is that he is moving so quickly. He's a lot further than what we thought he would be, and he's decided that this is the kind of route that he's going to take to try and get to Treehouse Dam, which is fine. It's at least nice and open here in comparison to where we are, so I'm glad he came out of that horrible stuff and has decided rather to walk in this area, because this is at least manageable in comparison. And he's going to go to Treehouse Dam. From Treehouse Dam, I'm pretty sure he's going to head straight southwards, and it's going to become very difficult to keep up with him from there. Now, here we go. This should work. No, Tingana, where are you off to? So, Ellen, you're wondering who Tingana could be looking to mate with. Well, at this stage, more than likely, his only options that are maybe that a female in the north. I don't know where Shaluva has gone. I've heard very little of her. Not the Shaluva he ate, the other one. So I don't know where she is at this stage of the game. But he could be looking towards that sort of area. Other than that, his options are very limited. He's got very few options in that. Shadow currently has a cub. We know that. Oh, sorry, Twerk, this bar is difficult. We know that Shadow has a cub. We know that Tandi's got a cub. We know that Shongile is too young to be mating at this stage. Then in the western side, we know that Salahesh has been mating and is possibly pregnant. Moya has a cub, or Nanga female has a cub. So there really is very limited option. I suppose his next option would be Tiani. The problem is Tiani is far to the west, and Anderson's not going to let him get very, very close and allow him to mate with that female if he's in that area. So it's going to be interesting. From the sort of southern side, I don't know what lurks in Mala Mala on this northern boundary. I haven't spent much time down there in a long time, so I'm not 100% sure. There used to be a female called Ostrich Koppies that used to be the dominant female down there, and in Tima and then Kwatile, but they're all missing or gone now as well. So it means that we've got very few female leopards that he could potentially mate with. I suppose in Kanyeni, but she's been mating with Quarantine, so really not very many females for him. Now in the absence of Karula, he doesn't have many to mate with, but you never know. We know that the wild is a funny place and things can happen, and you never know, tomorrow there might be a female that loses her cub and then starts coming into estrus in the next few months. Now I'm going to try and just position so that we don't have these bars in the way, because the bars are a pain. But look at how well he blends in this environment. Those spots are just melt into the grass and become so difficult to see him from a long way away. We were commenting on it earlier as we were trying to get towards him, that he really does blend well, and you can see how hard it is at this time of the year to actually spot these cats. If he lay down now and popped his head down in one of these thick sort of grassy areas, it would be very difficult. Good morning, Mr. Tingana. Isn't that cool? This is the best way to spend a day in the bush, for sure. So, Nikki, you want to know how tall a leopard is of Tingana's size? Well, at his sort of highest point of his shoulders, he's probably, I would say, I mean, it's difficult to say exactly, but I would imagine him to be about 2 feet. What do you reckon, Ferg? About that, huh? At the shoulder?
Feet aren't so good, but,
your feet aren't so good. Yeah, he'll be just over a meter at the shoulder. So, I mean, that's maybe more than 2 feet. It's closer to 3 feet. So that's what I would imagine about that high. Now, Tingana is not the tallest leopard. Anderson is a little bit taller than what he is. Tingana is quite a stocky leopard and has got a big body, but not in terms of height. Oh, now we're trying to see if we can't quickly get through here, because it looks like he's now going to go back towards Weaver's Nest, and he's going to miss out on Treehouse Dam. Treehouse Dam is to our right here, quite a long way, and he seems like he's got his nose down to the ground, sniffing something. I wonder if he's not found the scent of another leopard that he's now following along. So I'm just going to let Aubrey go. So Alice, if you can just repeat that. Sorry, it was just the guys on the game drive were speaking a little bit too much. So Chitty Chatty Meg, I know you asked a question, but I just didn't hear this sort of gist of the question. You're wondering if it's urine they scent mark with or something else? Well, it is urine, so it's just a type of urine that they scent mark with. It's slightly different to the normal urine that they spray, but it is urine. It's pretty much exactly what it is. It comes out of their genitalia, so if it's a female or a male, it comes out of the genital area, and it's exactly like urine. So it just has a strong chemical scent to it, and it's probably fine that it's laced with more chemicals than what you'll see on a normal sort of urine when they're growing up as youngsters. Where are you going, Tingana? You are on a serious mission. Now, he seems like he's got his nose down all the time, and I wonder who he's busy following. So there he goes across the front of us, and he is heading straight towards Treehouse Dam. So I think he might go there for a drink, and it might be that we'll get at least somewhat of a stationary sighting with him, because he's really been moving very quickly this morning. But isn't he beautiful? Look at the size of his dewlap. That's one thing that Tingana has that not many leopards in this area have, is this massive dewlap. It makes his neck area look that much bigger because of the size of the dewlap that he has. Very cool. Right, let's try keep up with him. Sorry, Ferg, if my hat came into your shot there. I do apologize. So, Nia, you're wondering if male leopards would kill their offspring or offspring of another leopard like lions do? Well, most certainly. Tingana has reportedly, I've never seen it myself, but reportedly killed a few of his own offspring as well as a number of others, and they do it to bring the female into estrus. Oh, there was a steenbok. Oh, he just didn't notice it until the last second, so he literally almost stood on the steenbok as he was walking, and you can see now he's looking a bit bewildered by this. Tingana, you were sniffing around and you just missed your opportunity. He almost stood on that steenbok. It was sitting just behind that the roundleaf teak to his right there, and he was about to come around the corner and the steenbok exploded out and ran. Now the problem is for a leopard is a steenbok is far too fast for a leopard when it comes to actually outright speed, and so if the leopard doesn't catch it unawares, there's no chance for it to be able to grab it. And you can see, look how he's sniffing where it was lying. I'm sorry, boy, you missed your opportunity. You were a bit slow there. Look at how he's twitchy now, though. He's sniffing and he's listening. Now with steenbok, the thing about them is, as we know, they're monogamous, and that means that there could very well be another steenbok somewhere in this area that he could be hunting. Now he knows that if one is burst away, maybe the other one is still lying down, and that's why he'll put his nose to the ground to try and smell where they may have been sleeping. They'll often sleep quite close to one another, and because we haven't seen another one burst away, maybe there is still one sitting here watching. No, it decided it's time to carry on. Isn't this cool? I'm so glad he decided to walk this way, because this way at least we have somewhat of an open run at things, and it's going to be a lot easier to follow him through all the way. Now I'm just trying to work out where I'm going to go from here. Well, I think we'll just follow Tingana's route. So Daniel, you're wondering how old Tingana is. Well, we think that, because we don't know for sure, because he's not a male that was born in this area, but we think that he's about 10, 11 years old, somewhere around there. I'm not sure if anyone's ever established exactly where Tingana was born, but we think, just judging by his size when he arrived, that he was about that. When he first arrived on the scene, it was about 2011, and he was at that stage a young male, maybe 4.5, 5 years old, and he's now kind of grown into this big guy, and he's been around since 2011, so that would make him about 11 years old. Now I'm going to let Tax go, because Tax has been trying to keep up with this whole morning, and he's only just got a glimpse of Tingana. So I'm going to let Tax try and get round as well, because ultimately he's helped us, and he was the one that actually found the tracks for this particular leopard and was able to then see them. Tax. Now I'm going to just try and see. Is he coming this way? Oh, there he is. Just on the other side of the mount. Hello, Tingana. I didn't see you there. I was just trying to warn Tax because one of his guests dropped a tissue, and so I was just trying to tell him that he has dropped them and that he should just try and pick them up quickly before leaving them, because we don't want to leave any rubbish in the bush. Look at that. You are magnificent. Come and rest on this termite mound for a bit. I don't think he's going to, but it would have been nice had he done it. And you can see how he's using the termite mound as a way of being elevated. So from up here, he can probably spot what's going on. And I think he's actually seen something. I'm just trying to look to my left to see if I can't spot anything. I don't see anything at this stage. But it seems to me that he's maybe spotted something in the distance, because his whole demeanor has changed a little bit. He's now gone stationary. He's not moving nearly as fast. Ears are focused. His eyes are focused. So he's really paying attention to what's going on. It's not like he's just ambling through the bush now. He's decided that this is where he's going to stop and where he's going to watch what's going on. And look at that. You can see some of the scars on the face that tell a lifetime of a dominant male leopard. And there you can just get an idea of just how big that dewlap is. It almost goes from his chin. So, Alan, you're wondering what spot pattern means. Well, Alan, a spot pattern refers to those whiskers that those spots just above the whisker line. So you see where his nose is? There is a few whiskers coming along towards the sort of face area, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side that you can see. It almost looks like a fifth one in there that's joined up with the others, but that's what we refer to when we refer to a spot pattern. So on the top of the right and left side, why are you see he's growling at the Aramark babblers, because the Aramark babblers are making a noise, and he's growling at them because he doesn't want them to make a noise, because he's trying to stalk something. So he's now sitting down waiting for the Aramark babblers to fly away. You're a funny boy. Here's another story, this leopard. You can't growl at the birds, they're not going to listen to you. There we go. Now that the birds have flown away, you see now he's slinking off into this little section here, and it's going to be quite difficult. It gets very, very steep. At least the nice thing is that we've got one vehicle on each side of this section, and it means we can then follow him along as he goes in the steep drainage and then try and get towards him. But he's definitely stalking something. His whole demeanor is changed completely, and I don't want to move too much because it seems like whatever he's seen is not too far away. Maybe it's this other steenbok that we were talking about just now. Let's see where he goes from here. Look how he's getting lower in the grass, you see? And far more ginger with the way that he walks. Instead of walking like he was earlier, he's now concentrating on where his feet are being placed. He's keeping his body profile much lower than what he was doing earlier. Earlier he was walking with his head up, sort of strutting. Now he's going into a more stalk position. Now, Ferg, I'm just going to go back slightly so we can just stay with him a little bit. Where did he go? There he is. Sorry, just tell me where the pole is in relation. There we go. So you can see now he's still watching. Look at how he's perked up a bit. What have you seen? I can't see anything. I can tell you now, I'm looking all over the place and I can't see what he's hunting, but there must be something that is here. And this grass is so long that if there is a steenbok, we're not going to see it until the last second. So I don't want to move. I don't want to go crashing through the bushes and ruin it for him. So that's why we're just going to sit still, and we've got a fairly decent visual of him anyway, so there's no reason to be moving at all. Have you decided to lie down there now? Look at that. Look at how he disappears. So, Hawkeye, you're wondering what the difference is between a leopard and a jaguar. Now, before I get into that, just look at that camouflage. Ferg, if you can come out for me just a little bit so that we can see. Back a little bit further. Now, that's what we would see. I mean, that's even a zoomed in image of us driving along. Now try and spot that leopard as you drive at 20 or 30 kilometers an hour down these roads. That is almost impossible. Their camouflage is astounding in these winter months. That broken pattern just works so well to keep them hidden in the grass. Now, to our jaguar and a leopard question. First of all, they occur in different parts of the world. So jaguars are in South America, whereas your leopards are here in Africa. And a jaguar is a much bigger animal than what the leopard is. It's bulkier, it's thicker, it's got massive limbs and a very short tail. And now the reason why it has a short tail is because it doesn't climb like the leopards do. Jaguars spend most of their time on the ground, walking on the forest floor, and they will then sit on the banks of these big river systems where they hunt varying species of food items. And so they look a little bit different also in that their spots are slightly bigger and closer packed together than what the leopards are. The leopards tend to have these sort of rosettes that are quite expanded, whereas the jaguar's spots, because they're so much thicker, look as though they're much tighter packed, but they are much bigger with shorter tail, and they have a slightly different look to their face. I always find jaguars look a little bit more sort of dopey than what the leopards do, but they have massive heads in comparison to the leopards. And I know a friend of mine who's actually seen a jaguar and leopard, and he says to me that the jaguars, the males, are almost like the size of a lioness that we see here, so much bigger than what we see in this area. Right, well, we're going to try and see what Tingana is busy watching and see if we can't just get ourselves a slightly better view without disturbing what's going on. And while we do that, let's go across to Byron, who's found something not with spots, but with stripes.
That's right, Tristan, not spots but stripes. We've got a zebra that's just moving through the grass near us, close to us. Awesome to see some zebra. And now there were a few of them around actually. There was some walking through the thicket behind me. That's a lovely view of it. now, just while Tristan gets a break and tries to follow Tingana some more, I'm glad he got to find him again and following him a bit. Sounds like he's giving him the run around. Nice to see the zebra. Now, I was just got some of the comments again about the different leopards and the lion prides and that, and we had that question earlier about the Nkuhuma pride and when we think that young cub will join him, and I think it was Morning Glory, you sent us pictures, thank you. So I haven't seen that young cub yet, and you say it's far too young for about three months or so. So yeah, it looks like it is quite young, maybe probably a month and a half to 2 months. It's unlikely that she'd bring it out the den sooner than that. Often, if they play around the den, from about three weeks to 5 weeks. But for her to take it out away from the den, it's usually around 2 months or so that they take them out. But that little cub did look very young, so maybe because it's by itself, she's decided to bring it out a little bit and then put it away and hide it somewhere again because it is still so young. But it looks probably a month and a half to 2 months old. I would guess that's what it is now. Now, I'm going to leave the zebra, carry on my search for lions, speaking of lions, but let's head back to Tristan and that big male leopard.
Well, our leopard is still sitting in the grass. You can just see his ears moving every now and then. And I think he's just reassessing whatever it is that he saw. He's just stopping and just listening and now having a look around, probably working out what's his best route from where he is now to get closer. He's got a lot of advantages here if there is something close by. He's got a deep drainage section that he can get in if that animal is on top, because he can then use that as a way of slinking up closer. Now you can see there he's just starting to go now. I wonder if he's not going to go towards Treehouse Dam. I'm just going to watch him going along, and then I'm going to shift across quickly to Treehouse Dam side. Now let's quickly go around, because once he crosses, it's going to be difficult to keep up with him from there. And also, there's a few vehicles that want to come into the sighting, so I think if he crosses the road and starts heading south, he's going to be heading towards the southern boundary, and I'll try and let them some of the other guys get in before he crosses over the boundary. But let's see. Right, Tingana, where are you going to go from here? Would it have been nice if he had come and drank? Imagine if he'd come and sit and lay on these sort of open banks here. So Skip from Texas, who's 12 years old. Hello, Skip. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you will have a good week going further. Now, you want to know whether any other animals have dewlaps. Well, yes, Skip, there are cows that have dewlaps, but here in sort of the wild systems that we see, it's really the buffalo bulls that get big dewlaps. So they're the ones that you start to see getting these massive dewlaps that come down. And then the other animal, which you're going to see in the Masai Mara with Brent and Jamie and James and Steph, is the eland. So I'm trying to listen to where he is, but the eland is the other one that will be able to have this massive dewlap. So those are the animals that we see with big dewlaps. The rest of them, not so much. Now, a male lion may develop a little bit of a dewlap, but we don't know because he's got a mane there, so it's difficult to see when they get older if they do get one, but it's more just that they get a big mane than anything else. Now, let's see, where has he gone? He's so quick, this leopard. He moves very, very fast, and it makes it difficult to keep up with him. Where have you gone? There's a big termite mound coming up here, and I'm hoping this is where he's going to go up. Now, I believe Byron has found something that Tingana would love to be hunting now, so let's go across to him.
Yeah, I probably would love to hunt a kudu, Tristan, because the meat is so tasty, but look at that beautiful bull standing there with those spiral horns. It's such a wonderful profile shot of that kudu. A big, big kudu bull. Beautiful. Look at those horns. Aren't they wonderful? I'm hoping he turns and faces us, so you can see what those horns look like when they are facing you. Widespread horns with those big spirals. One of my favorite antelope too in the area. Lovely seeing the big kudu. They don't always stand still for us, so it's nice to see this big bull standing like this. There are some females around. There's actually a large group of kudu. So it looks like our luck's also picking up a bit. I mean, we've seen zebra and now the kudu. Number of females around here with the male. And you can just see one or two feeding on the shrubs and the bushes. They are browsers, so they feed on the leaves. Nikki, you know what? Male leopards are incredibly powerful, and it's unlikely that a big male leopard like Tingana would hunt a big bull like this. In terms of them being able to hunt a bull, maybe I wouldn't put it past them at all. I have read in parts of Africa where leopards have hunted eland. Now eland's even bigger than kudu, so it's possible. If the leopard is skilled enough and a really skilled hunter, then there's a chance that it could potentially take down a big kudu bull like that. Now I think, speaking of leopards, let's head back to Tristan with Tingana and see what he's up to now.
Well, right now I'm just trying to be like a leopard and be graceful getting through a tree, which has been a battle, but we're trying to keep up with Tingana. He's still mobile, straight sort of southwards towards the boundary. So like I say, I'm not going to be able to stay with him too long because I want to give some of the other guys a chance that are trying to get into the sighting. So what we're going to do is do one more glimpse and let him then walk away from us and allow one of the other guys to have a little look before he goes south over our boundary and we lose him there. But you can see he's still walking fairly quickly. Now careful there, Ferg. There's branches everywhere at this stage. It would have been nice if he had decided to find a termite mound somewhere where he could have just rested on, that we could have at least had 5 minutes of stationary Tingana looking at us nicely. Now he's just going behind that bush, Ferg, so he's somewhere over there. There he is, just on the right. He's going to just go past. I think he's probably going to head, maybe he's going to head towards that termite mound over there. It would be nice if he did. So we'll try to see if we can't quickly just get round that side. It's not easy in here because of the amount of trees that there are. That makes it difficult with the roof, because the roof we've got to kind of fit through much larger gaps than without the roof. The nice thing is though for Ferg is he's not having to duck and dive nearly as much as what he was the other day when we were following that male line. Good, Rusty, well done. Let's see now, should come around and just be, if he doesn't go to the mound itself, at least we'll be in front of him, that we can get a really nice walk by, and then from there, that's going to be the last of it with Tingana, I think. By the looks of it, he's coming this way. Alright, Ferg. There we go. He's just under this torchwood here, having a scent mark at the moment, and he's coming directly towards us. Now, hopefully, Ferg, I'm going to just go a little bit forward for you because you're going to get a better view if I go forward. So I do apologize about shaking your camera. Hopefully he's going to, there's like a little pathway that just runs here, so hopefully he's going to just come straight towards us. There we go. You've got to shake off a bit of the moisture that's in the grass after that rain that we had last night. Hello, big boy. Isn't this so cool? So Michelle G, you're wondering if the size of the dewlap is hereditary. Well, there will be some element of it that is hereditary. It's also to do with age. The older they get, the more the dewlap develops, but some males will definitely develop a bigger dewlap than others. So you'll find a situation where Tingana's got much bigger dewlap the other ones. Now that's what you call a blowout, which obviously Tingana is not even phased by. As you can see, he's just walking away. But this sometimes happens, particularly if you get something like a torchwood that hits it. It pierces the tire and then you get a little blowout like that. Or if you pinch the valve. So unfortunately, poor Andrew, who's just joined to try and see this leopard, got to feel sorry for somebody when that happens, because he's been trying to sort of wait for us to get the visual of Tingana, and he's been waiting patiently, and as he gets with us and sees the leopard, the tire blows out. So I feel very bad for Andrew, but it's the way it goes out here. Sometimes you have luck like this where things just go against you a little bit. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't squeeze through here. Let's see, where are you going, Tingana? Sure, he's just going straight southwards, and you can see now why Tingana is a tough leopard to find. If you don't find him on the road, you can see where we've walked this morning. He's pretty much just been through thickets, and he strides through this. Now, track a leopard through this kind of cover is not easy at all, and so he moves a lot faster than even some of us can walk and track, and so it just makes it so tough to find him. That's why he is one of the harder leopards. And same with Anderson, he also strides like this. In fact, Anderson's even worse than Tingana when it comes to moving. Anderson almost walks at a trot. He's like a wild dog at times. I don't know why he moves so fast, but he does. I remember the one day we found him at Simamili at the lodge, which is right up on the northern boundary of the Sabi Sands, and it was about an hour later we were already crossing into Londolozi. So he just absolutely hammered it straight southwards towards Londolozi, and he just goes, and like I say, he's almost like a wild dog the way that he moves. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if it's harder for leopards to hunt because they hunt in a solo fashion and they don't have the use of a pride system like the lions do. Well, yes and no. So sometimes it is not. It's difficult for them because it's just the one of them and they can't chase a prey animal towards another one. But when you have multiple individuals hunting, there's more chance of one of those individuals being spotted. So rather than just one animal that's creeping along through the thickets, you've got a situation now where you've got maybe 4 or 5 lionesses, and that prey animal's got the chance to spot not only one individual but 5 individuals, and so it means that with lions they often get spotted a lot quicker than something like a leopard would. So it just depends on the sort of situation, but both of them have a very similar success rate. In fact, leopards probably a little bit more successful than what the lions are. Now we're just allowing tax just to go through here quickly. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you asking if I've ever seen a leopard hunt. Yes, I have. I've seen many leopard hunts. Most of them have failed, but I have seen some pretty cool ones where they've been successful. So, I've seen leopards killing duikers, baby impalas a lot, scrub hares, monitor lizards, pythons, kudu, young giraffe. In fact, Tingana, as far as I know, we were talking earlier, well, Byron was telling you about whether you could kill a fully grown adult kudu male. Well, the biggest kill that I've seen Tingana on was about a 2-year-old giraffe that he killed with Moya female when they were mating together. So they had this giraffe that they managed to wrangle to the ground. How, I still don't know. We got there as the giraffe was down and still kicking, so we just missed it. But it was the most insane thing to see this leopard sitting on top of a giraffe. It was really quite something. Now, here goes our leopard into the distance. Oh, he's moving fast. Keeping up with him is, I tell you what, it's a tough job. It's almost like you're going to gym when you try to keep up with Tingana, because your arms work the whole time. You kind of get bounced around, so it's like a core exercise following Tingana. Maybe this just should be a new exercise fad that we get out there and make popular. The sort of ab workout with Tingana. Do you reckon he would work, Ferg? You reckon? We'll test it on Connor, yeah. Connor's our gym bunny, so we'll try and see if it works. We'll do... Byron says I don't know what gym is. That's because Byron's just scared that I'll do more than he will at a gym, because Byron doesn't know that I used to train quite a lot, and gym doesn't scare me in the slightest. So there we go, he's striding. I'm gonna probably try and leave him from here, because like I say, there are other guys that want to see him. I just want to ask Tax quickly. Tax, is there anyone else on standby? I'm just staying back so that those guests can get some photos. There's some guests that are just in front of us here, and we don't really want to be in their photograph of the leopard, so I'm just going to let them get a chance to get some photos before I drive behind him. Ralph. Confirm you coming to Tingana. Okay, copy. You're going to miss him. He's going to cross Gari Main in all of 1 minute. Yeah, he's already crossed the fire break. He's now going over Gari Main in the next, I would say, 2 seconds. So there we go. We're just telling Ralph that unfortunately he's not going to make it, because he thought he was going to have ample time to get you. With this leopard, there's never ample time to get anywhere now along Gari Main itself. Now I'm just going to try and pull this side. No, he's going to just go straight across like he always does and just march off into Little Gari. So there we go. Off he goes, and that's the last we're going to see of him, unfortunately. And that's it. And that's Tingana gone, guys. Out. And, well, what an excellent way to start our day. Now, Michael, you want to know what my favorite sighting is of Tingana? That's a tough one. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to think about it. I've had lots of very cool sightings, but I think maybe the sighting with the giraffe was probably one of the most amazing, because we had spent all morning trying to find this leopard. We'd been tracking, my tracker and I had been on foot for over an hour. We had gone everywhere. His tracks and her tracks had gone over the top of ours, and it had been really a tough morning, and we were just getting quite despondent. It was late, and the guests that I had at the time thought that we were completely irresponsible, that we had been spending the whole game drive trying to track 2 leopards, and that there was many other things to see, and that why hadn't we gone and seen all the other things, even though there was nothing else on the radio. But we were getting it in the ear a little bit from some of the guests, and so we kind of stopped and had a coffee. And while we were having a coffee, my tracker carried on a little bit, and he managed to find fresh tracks. And so we quickly jumped onto the car and we rushed into that area. And as we got there, like I say, we just found this scene where there was this giraffe that was over the road. There was 2 leopards, both one on the back end, one on the sort of neck area. Giraffe was kicking. It was just the most sort of out of this world scene, and the guests went from completely sort of hating us to absolutely ecstatic. And we then sat and we watched this incredible process as these 2 then killed this giraffe, and then from there started mating. And so we had mating leopards, giraffe kill, and then the hyenas started to arrive that night, and there was this epic battle over this giraffe. It really was quite something to witness. So I think that's probably the highlight of my Tingana sort of sightings. I'll try and think of a few more, but I've had quite a few really cool ones with him. Right. Because he's left, it's time for us to go, and so we're going to try and see what else we can find. And while we do that, let's go back to Byron and see how his bumble in the bush is going this morning.
I don't know, I'm just not having luck at the moment finding little big cats. I'm looking for lions, no tracks, nothing. And I find it incredibly strange, because they were definitely calling on Djuma last night. That's the way it goes, but luckily we got to see that big male leopard with Tristan, so I'm very happy about that. We'll still check around and see if we can't find some tracks. Now, I was telling you stories about the leopards earlier, and how different areas, or guides also compete to see who's got the biggest leopard in their area and what the biggest leopard is. And I remember guides saying, oh well, they've seen a leopard and he must be at 100 kilograms at least. Now I've chatted to Panthera, who do the research on big cats in Africa, and the guy, one of the guys that does it, is a friend of mine, and he was saying all the research in that, and especially in the Sabi Sands, the leopards that they've caught and measured, a big male within the Sabi Sands is about 80 to 85 kilograms, he reckons. He says maybe 90 kilograms, but that's a really big male leopard. So if anyone says to you, well, they're about 110 kilograms, you can tell them they're lying, because that's really big for a leopard, unless also you never know if they've measured it after the leopard's just fed, which is also not a true or accurate weight measurement. Other parts of Africa, leopards get quite big. They get quite some are smaller, depending on mountainous regions. As I said, there have been records of leopards catching eland. Now, eland's huge, much bigger than kudus. But I've seen leopards with big Inyala bulls. I've seen leopards with, well, I've seen the Anderson male with the buffalo calf hoisted into a tree. We've seen him with a young giraffe hoisted into a tree. So, I mean, it just shows you they will hunt just about anything if they think they can take it down. And a big male leopard like that is so powerful, could probably easily do that. Now, I think the biggest leopards I've seen, I think the two largest leopards I've seen in this area must be that Msegwen male. He was just a really big leopard, and then I think the other one must be that Anderson male. In my opinion, those are the two largest leopards that I've seen in the Sabi Sands. Now, Anna, you actually asking who would win it between Tingana and Anderson if they had to have a territorial fight. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tingana's a little bit quicker than Anderson. I don't know. I would guess Anderson, though, judging by his size and the size of his territory and that. He's got a big territory, so I think he's probably a bit more successful. I'm not sure. I don't know. Some of you, I haven't seen Tingana as much as a lot of the viewers have, so. You know a lot more about him in terms of his territory, and I know where he's moving, but I think if he had to meet up with Anderson, I don't know. It's always difficult to say. On the day, who knows? But my guess would probably lean towards Anderson. Also depends who's really in their prime, who's a little bit older, who's a little bit younger. All those need to come into consideration. Really hoping to find a lion this morning. One of the Birmingham males, perhaps. I think those were the males that were calling last night. Now Tristan has moved away from Tingana, or Tingana moved away from Tristan, but he found some kudu now. Maybe let's ask Tristan who he thinks would win in a territorial dispute between Anderson male and Tingana.
Well, Byron, I actually know the answer to that because I've seen it take place. I've watched Anderson and Tingana have a territorial dispute, and it ended up that Tingana gave away a little bit, but it wasn't that sort of obvious, if we can call it that. At some stages, Tingana pushed back quite a bit, and Anderson also got a little bit of a fright, but that was in the early days. Now I reckon Anderson would hammer Tingana. I think Anderson would be more than feisty with Tingana now. And then we actually watched them, and they ran down the road together, one on either side of the road, and they just ran along, and there was salivating and drooling coming out of both of them, and it was quite something to actually watch. Now our kudus are going to be evacuated off the road fairly shortly because there's a car coming that's racing to try and get to where Tingana crossed, and so I'm pretty sure our kudus are going to be pushed out of the way fairly shortly. Now there they go. Here goes the kudu. So I'm going to try to get out of the way because I don't want to be flattened as well as people come along. The good news is that I've got, looks like, tracks for Hosana coming north into Djuma here at the quarry, so I'm going to try and see if I can't find them. Maybe that's who Tingana was sniffing around for, but there's a young male leopard track here at the quarry itself that was moving around. So I'm going to quickly go check Shabamu pans because it doesn't seem like this particular individual went the other way, because the guys were saying to me they didn't pick up any tracks that side. So we know that Hosana sometimes comes to the quarry and then he goes to Shabamu pans, and maybe with these kudu lurking around could be sort of sitting here hunting. So I'm going to try and see if we can't find him. And wouldn't it be insane if we could have the Duke of Djuma as well as the Prince of Djuma all in the same morning? That would be quite something. So let's see if we can't pull a rabbit out the hat here, so to speak, and find what we're looking for. But I don't know, there's lots of other animals around here. I see some zebras up in front as well, so I would imagine that Hosana is not anywhere near here. But those tracks are on top of the rain, so there's a bit of rain on top, which is from this morning, nothing major, but they are on top of the rain as well. But here are our zebras in front of us, right over there. So it just looks like a small herd that's been hanging around Treehouse Dam area the last few days, and it looks like they're starting to go back towards Arathusa and towards the Arathusa airstrip, and I'm pretty sure they were displaced from there because of one of the Birmingham boys that was around that area yesterday morning, and so they're now probably going to head back to the safety of the airstrip. So Donald, you're wondering why the zebras always have a muscle twitch, particularly near their shoulders. Well, they do twitch all over the body. It's just quite noticeable around the shoulder area, but the reason for it is it's an automatic response to any insect that lands on them. So when a fly lands on their body, it then touches them, and that response just sort of twitches, and then the fly goes off. And so it's basically like us swatting with our hand. It's the same as for them. Their skin just twitches and the fly takes away, and they don't have to actually worry about the flies irritating them too much. So that's why they have that strong muscle twitch that you see. You can imagine how sensitive their skin must be, that they can feel that fly land on them and then just twitch automatically. And it's almost an automatic response. It's something that just happens without them really thinking about it. It's not like us that consciously tries to chase something away. It seems like with them, they're just able to twitch and it goes away straight away. But you can see they're disappearing into the thickets, so onward and forward we go. I want to try and see where these tracks for this male leopard go, and whether or not he is still lurking around. The interesting thing about those tracks is that we know that Tingana came from the sort of northern side, so it definitely can't be him, and the tracks themselves are quite large. They're bigger than I thought they would be, so it could be Hosana, but he's just getting so big these days that his feet are starting to look like an adult male's as he's going. Last time I saw him, I was actually paying attention to where he walked, and those feet definitely are very, very large indeed. Right, now I'm going to go round back towards Treehouse and just see if maybe, just maybe, little Hosana is sneaking around there. And while I do that, let's go back to Mr. Byron and see what he's up to and whether or not he's had any luck this morning.
No luck just yet for us, Tristan, but we'll keep looking for any sign of these lions that we heard last night. And good luck with your search in Hosana. It'll be great to see him again. And the problem is, at the moment, what's happening is I think these leopards are moving around a lot more than we anticipate, because it's so cool at the moment. The temperatures are much cooler, so the leopards will move around a lot more than they usually do in the heat of summer. It was interesting also how you said that you've seen them actually have Anderson male and Tingana have a territorial dispute, and Tingana won. See, like I said, it all depends on the day, the age of the leopards. But now you think that Anderson would probably win now. That's That's interesting. So yeah, I wonder. It's again, you never know. You never know. I can hear Tristan radioing the other guides, trying to find out what they think of those tracks. Doesn't sound like they're very fresh though, so I'm not sure if he's going to carry on following up in that area or trying to look for leopard in that area. Donald, you can indeed tell if an animal is walking or running, judging by the tracks. Now I'll try and show you. So there aren't tracks here that I can find or see, but Donald, what happens is when these animals, if they are running or if they're generally walking, you'll just see a steady gait. So the gait is the gap between each track. So for example, these tracks that I've left here now, there's a steady gait, an even gait gap between each track. So with animals walking, you'll see an even spread track. The gait is similar. Then what happens is, if they do start running, you might see the back feet a lot closer to the front feet, because they're now moving and they're putting back and front feet closer together while they're running. You could also see scuff marks. So Donald, you'll see as they run, you might see little scuff marks in the ground. It'll be a lot clearer where the track has gone and actually scratched the sand. Those scuff marks are a clear indication that they've been running. So that's the best way to tell if an animal's been running. You can see it a lot with hyena especially. You'll see the claws digging into the sand and a bit of scuff marks when they are running after prey. Lions are also a clear indication. You can see the scuff marks, those feet closer together. Sometimes the back track might even be in front of the front track, because when they run, they put their feet out like that so they can stride and get a faster pace. So Donald, you can definitely see if animals have been running or not. I hope that description makes sense with my running technique. Now let's. Tristan says he's got something that doesn't run or walk but flies. Let's go and see what it is. My guess is a bird.
Well, Byron, well done. You are very intelligent and you got 10 points on this test. It is indeed, it's a beautiful little bee eater that is just perched on a branch next to the road. And isn't it a pretty little thing? It's completely fluffed out this morning, trying to stay nice and warm, but it is the cutest little bird that we have out here. And you can see they, almost as though they've had too much caffeine in the morning, they bounce around all over the place, their head twitches as they look for insects. And these guys are serious fast flyers. When they take off, it is impossible to keep up with them as they fly around and grab insects that come off the grass. And as you may imagine, bees are one of their primary targets. So as the name suggests, bee eater, they grab bees, and they'll then go up onto perches just like that, where they'll wipe the bee on the branch. And the reason why they do that is they know that the stinger will catch on the roughness of the bark and pull out, and they can then swallow the bee without being stung in the throat. So very clever little birds. And I just love their blue eye line that they have. So they've got this kind of green cap and yellow chin, and then this black and blue sort of eyeshadow that they have over their eyes. Very nice. And off he goes. Thank you for sitting long enough for us to see you. That was nice of you. Now, they normally are tough ones to get on camera because they often sort of just dart away. But this cool morning that we've got this morning means that they're just a little bit more lazy than normal. And so we at least got a nice sort of view of them. Now, I can't seem to find any other tracks for this young male. Oh wait, what was that? I just drove over them. Here they are. So his tracks are going down this way on top of vehicle tracks. Now I need to quickly radio Byron and find out if he drove here, because if he drove here, it means these tracks are on top of his tracks from this morning. And one of us drove in this general vicinity. It wasn't me. Right, now I need to turn around and try and see if I can't find where this track goes. but it's heading back towards Shabamu Pans. Maybe this leopard is just sitting there and I've completely missed him like I did the other day. Now, I would try and show you these tracks, but they are almost invisible with the sort of way that the substrate is after the rain and the darkness of it. The contrast between these tracks is almost impossible to find on the sand. You're going to really struggle to see these. Now I just want to try and see if I can't see where they go, because I think I might have driven over them, but here we go. I found where they went. I'm going to try and just quickly turn, because these ones you'll be able to see they're not very clear, but there are big deep gouges in the sand. Can you get those, Ferg? Just these on the edge of the sandbank. No, I'm too close. Sorry, let me try that again. Sometimes you've got to try these things a few times. Forget sort of the angle that the camera is in relation to what we are. Sorry, Ferg, 2 seconds. Is that better? They should be just there. You can see them, the 2 little feet that are going over the road. So they're not very clear prints because of how soft the sand is, and the sand was wet, so it all clung to his feet, and when he stood in there it just made this big mess that you see. So it looks like it's cut off into this section here. So I'm going to try and see if I can't find where this leopard is gone. But that is typical place that Hosanna likes to go. He loves it inside here. So I'm definitely going to go and just check down. There's a beautiful big termite mound there with a large jackalberry tree, and they like to spend time in there. So I'm going to go and check in that particular section and see if I can't find him. Very nice indeed, though, to see these tracks. Hopefully we'll find Hosanna. Wouldn't this be cool? Right, now I'm onward and offward to go and see the tracks and see that termite mound and see if he's not lying there. While I do that, let's go to Byron, who's apparently got some books out and is being very studious.
I am indeed, because I'm trying to now just show you what I meant again by these tracks that I got in this book. This tracker manual that I've got describes it nicely. And here at the bottom, this is a soft padded gait of probably a lion or leopard. But just to show you, so the light blue tracks represent the front foot, and the dark blue tracks represent the hind foot. Okay, now this is a very slow gait, so or slow walk. Front foot and the back foot just behind it, as I mentioned. Then a slower walk, sometimes the hind foot would go on top of the front foot. Medium walk, where they're starting to pick up pace. You can see the back foot actually just in front of the forefoot. So that's the front foot and that's the hind foot over there. You can see slightly changing the gait. And then this is fast when they're running. As I mentioned, the front foot would be placed over here, and the hind foot comes through and is placed in front of it so that it can then launch out, so that speed increases. So what happens is, and then obviously the cat, whether it be lion or leopard or cheetah or whatever, as they launch, the back feet come through, are planted, and then they kick out so they can gain that distance. Now the gate then would be, so the actual space between each track would then be much larger, because now they're at full sprint. So you'll have the tracks here, and then probably almost 1.5 meters, 2 meters away you'd see the tracks again when they're in full stride. I think a cheetah is it's 3 or 4 meters with each stride when they're at full speed that they can cover, because you can imagine when they launch out, they actually really stretch out and then hit the ground again, and when they are running. But you can see how the feet change position, front foot, back foot, depending on what speed they are going. I hope that explains it. Hold on a second. Tristan's trying to radio me quickly. Let me just listen. Hold on. Tristan for Byron. On Gowrie Main. No, negative. I didn't go down there at all. Tristan's just asking if I drove a section of road this morning. I think they've got tracks there. They're still just trying to work out if the tracks they saw of what they think is Hosana, if they're fresh or not. Doesn't sound like it. It's just trying to work out. It helps if we know if their vehicles have driven in the area, because then it helps us gauge if those tracks are a bit fresher, if the tracks have been either if they're over the vehicle tracks or if the vehicle tracks are over the leopard tracks.